I guess this is the vibe we're going for with this video. Just me and a green screen door. I look like a shitty stand-up comic with a room to the abyss. Hello, I am Dan. This is GreenDM, and today I want to show you how to run chase encounters in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. There'll be an example chase encounter at the end of this video, so stick around for that. Let's get rolling. Now, there are rules for running chases in the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 252. These go over how to begin a chase, how to run a chase, how to end a chase, and how to add complications to a chase to make it more interesting. So I guess that's the video. Just go read that part of the DMG. Okay, but more seriously, those rules are a bit bare and they need a lot of considerations when you use them, so this video will try and lay out a better set of rules. First, beginning a chase. The rules in the DMG kind of just gloss over what initiates a chase and jumps right into running one. So let's clear that up. Most chases start when a creature, known as a quarry, starts running away from another creature, known as a pursuer. Importantly, the quarry's location should be known by the pursuer at the beginning of the chase. Otherwise, it's not really a chase, it would be more of a search. A simple chase example is when a wounded creature starts to flee a combat and a player character chases after them to land a final blow. This is a much different situation than if a player character was invisible, made a bunch of noise, and guards started searching for them. Now that we have that little bit out of the way, let's set up a chase. The DMG rules just use combat initiative for chases, and that the chase should mostly just follow the combat rules. I mostly agree with this, but I'd rather use something besides combat initiative for the chase initiative, and I want to lay out a way to make sure that the quarry and pursuer distances are clear throughout the encounter. So instead of using combat initiative, which is based on a dexterity check, I think you should use an athletics check for the chase initiative. Combat is mostly focused on who has the fastest hands and the fastest reflexes, while chase is mostly focused on who can maintain speed and overcome physical obstacles. To me, that sounds like athletics, but if you disagree, you can always choose a different check for the chase initiative. While everyone is rolling their chase initiative, you might think to draw a map for the chase, but this quickly becomes a headache since this will not be a small map. Most maps that I draw are just a single room or a city block, not an entire football field that the chase might need. So instead of drawing a map, you are going to draw a number line. Oh yeah, a line with numbers on it. This way, you can easily track how far the quarry and the pursuer are from each other, but you can also track a bunch of other useful information, such as how far the quarry is from a safe haven, if they have one, and where complications have appeared along the chase route. I'll explain safe havens and complications later, but for now, at the start of the chase, set the quarry at 0 on the number line, the pursuer at negative, whatever distance they are from the quarry, and if you have one, put the safe haven on the positive end of the number line. All right, you have a chase initiative based on athletics. You've drawn a cool number line. It's cool, all right. And it's not. And you've populated that number line with the quarry, the pursuer, and possibly a safe haven. Now let's get into running the turn-by-turn action of a chase. Now, you could just run chase like a combat, but I think it needs one big change. You see, in combat, it's okay for a character to run up to a wolf, attack it, and then on the wolf's turn for it to run away. But in a chase where everyone's moving at the same pace in the same direction, that can look a lot like rubber banding back and forth between people turn by turn. That doesn't feel right to me, and it can mess up how you rule ranged attacks and ranged effects in a chase. My fix for this is that everyone in the chase still gets their normal action and bonus action, if applicable, on their turn, but no one moves until the end of the round. And then everyone moves all at once when at the end of the round. Spells like Teleport or Misty Step can be resolved on the turn that they are cast instead of at the end of the round, since those are instantaneous movement. If someone takes the dash action on their turn, however, that will be accommodated in their end of round movement. Speaking of dashing, the DMG limits dashing in a chase, and I agree with that ruling. Per the DMG, a creature can dash a number of times equal to its Constitution modifier plus 3. Each additional dash action it takes requires the creature to succeed a DC 10 Constitution check. Note, check, not save. Otherwise, it will gain a point of exhaustion. I like this ruling, but I'd take it a step further. Instead of it being a flat DC, I'd have the DC increase by 2 for every additional dash action a creature wants to take. But if that's too much bookkeeping for you, especially if you have a lot of creatures inside this chase, then feel free to keep it at that flat DC. No matter what the DC of this check is, it keeps player characters like a rogue, who can dash as an action and as a bonus action, from being impossible to escape from, or being impossible to catch up to, at least in the long run. Long run in a chase video. Anyway, the rogue is still going to be really effective in a sprint, but if this chase turns into a marathon, they're going to have a much harder time. With what we have so far, we have a bunch of people in order running. Not a very exciting encounter. So let's add in some complications. The DMG rules talk about ending a chase first, which if this is all you have, I hope you end it very soon. But we're going to skip that and come back to it later. Broadly, a complication is something that arises during the chase that must be overcome. Now, the DMG's complications are themed, so if you're not running an urban or wilderness chase, you're going to need to make your own. And these complications are rolled at the end of every participant's turn. That means with there only being 10 complications per theme, if this runs for more than a few rounds, you're going to get a lot of repeat complications. I don't like running complications this way. I'd rather there be one big complication that everyone has to deal with, rather than a bunch of small complications that just individuals have to deal with. So I've tweaked how complications work in my chases. First, there's only one complication per round, and it occurs at the start of the quarry's turn or the start of the lead pursuer's turn. Second, a complication always happens in each round of the chase unless there's too much going on already and it would just clutter things up. So, at the start of the quarry's turn, I'll roll for a complication, and if one doesn't happen, then at the start of the lead pursuer's turn, a complication must happen. If you don't like the idea of the pursuers being the default people complications happen to, you could always just choose round to round if the quarry or the pursuer get a complication. No matter what, there should be a lot less rolling, and when complications do come up, the quarry as a group or the pursuer as a group can deal with it. The third thing about complications is they should not disappear once one person has overcome them. That means when the quarry jumps over something, the pursuers still have to jump over to catch them. However, you can rule that it's easier to get through an obstacle once someone has already achieved it. To keep track of complications, I would just mark them on the number line when they occur and then track when other people go through that area. With all that said, this is only one type of complication. The other type of complication is when the quarry gets proactive and tries to stop the pursuers. This could take the form of the quarry knocking over some pots or releasing wild animals. If your player characters are the quarry in a chase, I recommend setting up a few opportunities for them to do these types of complications in advance, just to inject a little more action and a little more player engagement into the chase. Now that we have everyone running around, smashing things and smashing through things, let's try and figure out where this ends up. The DMG has all the ways I think a chase can end, but doesn't state them clearly. So let's state them clearly. A chase can end when 1. The quarry stops immediately being caught. 2. The pursuers stop immediately letting the quarry go. 3. The quarry or pursuer die, thus ending the chase. 4. The quarry gets away, either by getting to a safe haven or by slipping into hiding. 5. The pursuer catches up to the quarry. The first 3 are pretty straightforward, so let's dig into those last 2. A safe haven is a place where if a quarry reaches there, they are safe. This could mean they reach a friendly castle, or get to a gang hideout, or pass through a magical barrier. No matter what, the chase is over. But that doesn't mean the quarry is safe forever. If the player characters are chasing a quarry and that quarry ducks into a gang hideout, now they just have a cool mini dungeon to explore. It's no longer a chase, but it might become a combat encounter or a social encounter. As for the quarry escaping by sliding into hiding, it's a gamble. Instead of running on one of their turns, they have to spend their action and their movement to try to hide. Just as in the DMG rules, this hide check is going to automatically fail if the pursuer can see them. The DMG suggests a dexterity stealth check, but if the quarry is trying to blend into a crowd or blend into a tavern, I think a charisma stealth check would be a cool alternative. Either way, this check is compared to the passive perception of the pursuer, which I would say is just the lead pursuer if this is a group chase. The DMG has a table for the quarry to use to figure out if they have advantage or disadvantage on this roll, and I think that's a good table to use. And again, just like with the safe haven, just because the chase is over doesn't mean the quarry is safe forever. The pursuers could start a skill challenge to try and search the area, or the quarry could start a skill challenge to avoid that search of the area. As for the pursuer catching the quarry, this can be done by grappling the quarry from close range, casting hold person on them, or some other movement impairing effect. Once that's done, I don't think the quarry is going to go anywhere, and they're going to be pretty easy to catch. Now you should know how to start a chase, run a chase, add complications to a chase to make it more interesting, and end a chase. But let's go through an example to solidify these ideas. Now, this example is going to be a chill chase that's going to shatter your expectations. And if it doesn't, you can give me the cold shoulder. It's ice. This chase is mostly about ice. First, an overview and a framing for the chase. The party, laden with precious cargo, is making their way across an ice river when a band of warg riders sees them and sees that precious cargo ripe for the taking. And it should be precious cargo, especially to the party. Otherwise, they'll just dump it at the first sign of trouble, and that's going to be a pretty short encounter. When I ran this encounter, the party was on a wagon filled with supplies that were going to a northern kingdom. If the cargo was lost, people may starve, and plans for war would need to be put on hold. The party wanted to be safe while moving this cargo, but due to winter coming early, they had to swing south to avoid harsh snow. South directly into Orc territory, which was known for its mercenaries and raiders, the type of raiders that had just seen the party from afar and seen their wagon laden with goods for the taking. That is where the chase began. Interestingly, the quarry for this encounter isn't the player characters, but the wagon that they are on. The pursuers are a number of Orc warg riders. The exact number is up to you, but it should be an overwhelming force if the party were to fight them all at once. My party was 4 level 5 characters, so 12 orc riders on wargs, with 2 of those orcs being orogs and 1 being a war chief, immediately made the characters want to flee. You may need to lower the number of orcs if you have a low level party, or beef them up and give them dire wolves if you have a high level party. Also, feel free to replace the wargs and the orcs with whatever mounted warriors you have in your setting that seem cool and thematic for the situation. The chase itself takes place on top of a river covered in ice, which means flat, open ground with nowhere to hide. If you do need a map to set the scene for this encounter, Dice Grimorium has a great map you can use for free on their Patreon. I'll put a link in the description. But don't forget about your number line. Don't do it. As for the starting distance between the quarry and the pursuer for this chase, I think it should be roughly 300 feet. That way, everyone's out of spell and arrow range at the beginning so the party can assess the situation. Or they could try and fire longbows from the back of the wagon. I mean, they will be at disadvantage, but hey, some might still hit. The party in this case has a safe haven on the far side of the river. It is a narrow mountain pass that once they get into, the orcs will not follow. Because it is cursed. Why is it cursed? I don't know. I put this pass 200 feet ahead of the party when the chase began. So that means the wagon should be at 0 on the timeline, the orcs should be at -300, and the safe haven should be at +200. Now that we have everything set up, let's get to running the chase. For movement speeds, the wargs should be far outpacing whatever is pulling the wagon. In my case, draft horses. The wagon is heavy and skittering around the ice, while the wargs with their sharp claws and furry feet are maintaining speed. Draft horses have a normal speed of 40 feet, reduced down to 20 feet in this difficult terrain, while the wargs are at 50 feet and maintain that 50-foot speed. Side note on dashing for this encounter. Since this is between mounted combatants, it's the animals, not the people riding them, that will be making the dashing and constitution checks for those dashes. The speed discrepancy between the wargs and the horses is key to the tension of this encounter. If the player characters don't do anything, those wargs are going to catch up. If the players don't understand this through context clues, I recommend just stating it to them. That way the party knows that there is a problem they need to solve. How do they outrun something that is faster than them? The answer is under their feet. The ice river they are crossing is not ice all the way down. In fact, the ice is cracking as the horse's hooves slam into it. That thin ice can be exploited, whether by powerful magic, strong attacks, or ingenious planning. If you want specifics for the ice, just have it that each 10-foot by 10-foot square of ice has an AC of 1, automatically fails saving throws, and has an HP of 10. When that HP is reduced to 0, the ice shatters, exposing the bone-chilling water below. A creature in one of these ice squares when it shatters needs to make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw, otherwise they fall in. But shattering ice to slow the pursuers isn't the only thing they have to contend with in this encounter. There's also going to be random complications. I've made a custom complications table for this encounter, which is part of the PDF in the description. Most of the complications revolve around the wagon and the ice, since that's unique to this chase. Those random complications are a mixture of what I would call instantaneous complications and ongoing complications, so make sure to note the ongoing complications on the number line. I had all these complications occur to the quarry since that's where the party was, and the pursuers already had enough complications to deal with all the shattering ice. No matter what complications come up, this wild toboggan ride of an encounter has to end up somewhere. For the party to escape, they need to make it to that narrow pass 200 feet across the ice river. That would only be 5 rounds if they're dashing every single round, but a lot can happen in that time. If the party doesn't make it to the mountain pass, another way they can survive is by taking out the orc war chief. Whether that means killing them or dropping them into the icy river, either way, the rest of the warg riders are going to retreat to try and save their leader. Failure in this chase could be minor or major for the party. A minor failure could just be some of the warg riders rushing up, grabbing some things out of the wagon, and then stopping the pursuit, happy with the spoils they have. But a more ruthless band of riders may get within 150 feet of the wagon and then start firing at the horses. If that happens, the party's going to have to decide then and there whether that cargo is worth their lives. Because if the raiders do catch up and the party does not relinquish the cargo, they might be in store for an entirely different encounter when the wagon abruptly stops moving because the horses abruptly stop moving. Again, the raiders should be here for the valuable cargo, not the player characters' lives. But if they do put up a fight, the orcs will fight the party to subdue them, and then, if it's still escalating, to kill them. Hopefully, if your party gets to the point where their wagon is horseless and they're defending it with their lives, the orcs aren't coming all in one group. The orcs should be strung out, from some of them avoiding ice cracks and some of them trying to get back out of the water. So the party should not be fighting the full force of the orcs all at once. Instead, it should be several waves of difficult combat instead of one giant wave of deadly combat. And throughout this combat, the party can still shatter ice to their advantage. When I ran this ice chase, all of the action happened way before the orcs got anywhere near the wagon. 2 player characters jumped off the wagon, cast a bunch of AoE spells to shatter all of the ice, causing the orc war chief and 6 other orcs all at once to fall into the water, and then they thunderstepped back to the wagon over a round or two, leaving the orcs to just try and survive the frigid water. But hey, it's always fun to see what players are going to do in these strange encounters. With all that being said, you should have a good idea of how to run chase encounters and have a cool example to work off of. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy. If you made it this far into the video, I assume you like the video. If you don't, I'm surprised you're here. If you do like the video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. That helps tremendously with the YouTube algorithm, and it lets me know that I should make more content like this. Subscribe to the channel for more videos, and share this video with a DM you think could use some chase encounters, or with players that need to start fearing wagons and ice. Have a nice day, and try not to die in a TPK. Goodbye.